Hey, so we have the Rotilis tonight, and they're right here from the state of Maryland, and we are excited to have them on tonight because they are a great family. They have three wonderful, beautiful children that are part of their journey. And so you see them tonight in the video. That's what comes with the package. And so we're definitely excited to have them, and we're looking forward to diving right in to our questions on tonight as we celebrate the season of love. Our focus for these next few series will be that this particular series will be love languages. And so we're going to talk about the importance of your partner knowing what your love language is, but also just the importance of knowing how to properly love your partner and making sure that your marriage stays in good standing. And so tonight, again, we have Ernest and Tierra Rotelli. So let's give it up for them on tonight. All right, we're going to have fun tonight. And so we're going to focus again on love languages. So we thank you so much for just coming in and just spending some time with us. We know that parenthood is very busy in addition to all the other responsibilities that you have. So thank you for sharing your family with us tonight. We greatly appreciate you all.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So tell us, how long have you all known each other? Not how long have you been married, but how long have you known each other?
So we met the winter, right? Winter of 2009. So technically, I guess we've known each other about 11 years. Longer than that, 12?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
I think I'm 12.
So yeah, we met in college our junior year, the winter of 2009.
Okay. And how did you guys meet?
So we were at a party.
Yeah, we ended up, I was in an apartment full of guys, and we were right next door to an apartment full of girls. One of them was a close friend of Tiara's, actually, a best friend who ended up being our maid of honor at our wedding. And we met at one of her parties. We were playing beer pong, and Tiara and her teammate at the time on the basketball team were beating a friend of mine and I, which is how we first met.
Okay. Is that how you recollect it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. So the way it was kind of set up is Ernest and his group of friends lived here, and then our mutual friend lived here, and then I lived here. So we both kind of came to the same place at the same time. But yeah, no, that's right. You got it.
Yeah, we were running the table, I'm pretty sure, until... But I remember seeing Tiara pretty much immediately when I got there, and she was there at the party, because she made a lot of jokes. As anyone who knows her knows that she does. And we had really similar senses of humor, and I just remember finding everything she said hysterical. So she definitely caught my eye the moment that I walked into the room and she was there.
Daddy, that's how you read a book.
And that's how you read a book. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
He's on point.
Yeah.
So what caught your eye with her? What sparked this is someone that I want to pursue?
For me? Is that a question for me? Sorry.
We'll start with you.
It was like I was saying, her sense of humor, the relationship she had with her friends. She had a really similar sense of humor to me. I actually had a friend, so after that, myself and some of my friends started hanging around Tiara's friend groups a lot more, mostly because I kept trying to find excuses to hang out with Tiara, and that usually had to involve her friends. And I remember one of my friends talking about her and saying, she was like, I dare say she's the female version of you. She was like, you guys are very similar. So, I mean, I think that was it. I just really enjoyed all of our conversations and the banter. She was also really mean to me in the beginning.
Okay.
She made a ton of jokes at my expense. And so I don't know, for some reason that was endearing, even though she did.
Okay. What about you, Tiara?
So To be honest with you, like, I saw Ernest as a friend, right? So he was friend zoned for a really long time.
It wasn't a really long time.
Here's my excuse, right? Playing basketball, I never really saw guys as like, like this is somebody I'm gonna pursue like that. So to me, it was like, oh, I'm meeting this guy, like this is a friend of mine because all of us are friends, not because I potentially want to date this person. So I think it kind of the switch that flipped for me was his personality. Ernest is super empathetic. And he cares more about other people than he cares about himself. So that started to shine through a bit, but we also we clicked. Like, our personalities are very, very similar. We both like to joke a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
But we can give them, we can take them, like, we just kind of click, like, together. And I wanted a friend. I really did. But like I said, to be honest, like, I didn't even know Ernest liked me at all. Like,
everyone else did, except for her.
And everybody did. Like, he invited me over for winter break. It was just he and I was like, oh, I'm just going to hang out with, like, my guy friend, because I had always had guy best friends, and it was never to me like, this guy likes me. Let me look at it this way,
Over winter break, I invited her to my house alone, just the two of us to hang out and, like, watch movies and get food. It wasn't until the second time that happened that she realized that I was a lesbian.
I was about to say, how long did it take you to kind of like?
Well, and it wasn't. I didn't even come to it on my own, right? Like, I called a friend like after I left his house, and I was like, "Yeah, like I just got back from hanging out with Ernest," and she was like, "Oh, okay, like, so are you guys like dating?" Like, and I was like,
she drove like 45 minutes to get to my house just to
yeah. So I lived in northern Baltimore. Ernest was in Laurel, and that's the distance that I was driving to hang out with this person. But again, I was just completely oblivious. Like, it never clicked.
Just my homeboy.
Yeah, it was my friend. Like, I was hanging out with a friend of mine.
Oh, I also remember, this actually just jogged this memory. I was saying that she was always... Okay. You need a whole session just to talk about this. I was saying she made a lot of jokes at my expense, and she was always, like, really, like, jokingly mean to me. I remember at one point, I bet her $15, I think, that she couldn't be nice to me for a whole week. Yeah. Like, she couldn't not say a single negative thing for a whole week. And I think, like, 3 days in, she just gave me the money. She was like, I can't take it anymore.
Well, and they're quick one-offs that, like, you don't really think about. I don't know. It's like, let's not judge off the past. It's fine.
Did you treat your other guy friends like that, or was it just something about Ernest that you felt?
No, it was like, I think in particular, like, Ernest got it pretty bad. But I mean, I kind of just my personality, like, in general, is like that. But Ernest plays off of that, and I think that's what kind of made Ernest, get it the worst.
Now, when did you all get married?
August 15th, 2015. So after we had known each other for like 5.5 years, or been dating for 5.5 years.
So what made you come to the conclusion, like, okay, I know you now. Let's take this to the next level.
Well, we had been living together before we even got engaged for like 2 years at that point. We got a place up in Nottingham, Maryland. We were working at the same company, and we got an apartment together, and we lived there for about a year. And the company moved Tierra up to Boston, and they found a position for me as well up at Boston, but it was like 3 or 4 months later. So we lived apart in 2 different states for a little bit, and then I moved up there, and then we were living together again up there for a while, and then while we were up there is when I proposed. So we just had a lot of time together. We both wanted to live together for a little while before we like moved any further, because it was really important to us to see how that worked. And we worked really well together. We didn't really have any issues. We had really similar styles and thoughts on things. I mean, not everything. Like, I'm a lot messier than Tiara. I'm a lot messier than Tiara is willing to admit that she is. Other than that, like, we gel on a lot of stuff, and so when we saw how well that went, I think, we were like, well, what's the next step? Also, we had been going on vacations a lot, and we kept going on these like cruises or vacations and meeting older couples because like Tiara and I just sort of have older personalities, and we tend to make friends with like older, like 40 and 50-year-old couples and stuff when we're on trips. And they kept like talking to us like, oh, like, are you guys married? And we were like, no. And they're like, how are you guys not married? So we kept getting a hard time like every 6 months when we went somewhere. So yeah, we actually on one of the cruises is where I bought Tiara's ring. Mm-hmm. And then I almost went to jail for it.
So we've heard from Ernest a little bit about what he loves about you. What do you love about Ernest?
I think, well, I said it earlier, Ernest is very empathetic. He he puts other people before himself. So he always wants to make sure that somebody else is okay before thinking about himself. And to me, that's a really important quality in a person in general, but like especially my mate. I love his sense of humor. I love the fact that he loves me, right? Like, and I think like Bishop used to say this years ago, like the best thing that you could give your children and the best thing that he could give his child was to love on her mother, and Ernest does that like through and through, right? So I think those are the things that like make me light up, and it makes my stomach like get bubbly, and all those things. But I love that he's my friend first, because I think that's the most important thing and that was going to be my answer to the question later. But we're friends, like beyond anything. Like this is my best friend. Like, and it gets on his nerves sometimes, but like I'll call Ernest just to be like, hey, I'm riding home right now. I just left my grandparents' house. I'm riding home. And he's like, yep, okay, like that sounds great. But like, he's this is my best friend, and vice versa. Like he calls me for stuff, or like he'll run stuff by me first. But I love that we were friends first, and kind of our relationship was built on that foundation, and then it kind of expanded into us being more romantically and at that next level. So yeah, love you, buddy.
You would agree that it is very important for couples to have that friendship.
Yes.
On that relationship, have that core of a friendship.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, right, like, this is a person I have to live with. I have to see you every day. We have to make financial decisions. We have to make now decisions for the kids together. Like, I need a partner, but I also need somebody that is like my home base. And to have built a friendship, or to have that as our foundation first, was really important. And now all of the other things can kind of feed off of it and play off of it, because we were friends first, and because we make sure that our friendship is intact.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different things that a relationship or a pair can be built off of, right? And there's physical attraction, there's convenience, there is mutual hobby, and I mean there's friendship. There's a few other ones, but I think for a lot of those other things, the thing that binds you together, like it can get lost. And I think friendship is the most important one, because it's the one that lasts the longest of that group. If it's physical attraction, like eventually that's only going to carry you so far until you start hating each other. Right. If it's convenience or a shared hobby, things like that, once you stop doing those things, like what do you do then? So that's what's been great. I mean, Tiara and I enjoy spending time together doing anything just because we enjoy each other's company. So I think finding someone that you can have fun doing anything with is what I'd recommend, especially things that they enjoy that you didn't necessarily enjoy before. Because that was another huge thing too, is both of us ended up getting a lot into each other's hobbies just because we enjoyed being around each other, was doing something that they loved. So yeah.
Awesome. So, and speaking with that, having pretty much newborn, and then also having a 2-year-old, a busy 2-year-old, how do you all focus and keep the spice in your marriage?
I think there's a few things, right? Like, and I guess to give examples, it's about still letting the person know that you love them at the end of the day, right? So Ernest will do little things like you just saw, like he'll rub the small of my back or like the top of my shoulder blades, and we'll send like text messages to each other, just to say like I love you, or thinking about you or something like that. And I think those are the small things that can keep your marriage going. I think there are times too where Ernest will just randomly buy me flowers, just because, or I'll get like a random call that's like, what size is this, or what, like when he was buying my ring this year, because he got me a new ring this year. He was like, what's your finger size? You know what I mean? Like little stuff like that, just to keep the spunk, or to keep it fresh, or to keep the person in the back of your mind saying like, this person loves me, right? This person has my back at the end of the day. And I think that keeps the spice also.
I guess that leads to my next question, because sometimes people, they get in a marriage because they love each other, but they're not necessarily in love.
Yeah.
And so I think that those moments of knowing that the person is into you, it reminds you that they're in love, they're still in love with you. Not just for you because they want to tolerate you, but they actually enjoy being with you. So.
And I think too, and I guess one of the questions is this, but you'll get into it, is, and it's something we've been kind of like more recently talking through, is the love languages, because you need to be able to understand somebody else's love language, especially when it's vastly different than your own, in order to keep the spice, or to keep knowing that this person loves you, or this person understands you. And I can remember a conversation where Ernest was like, your love language is this. My love language is this. This is why we didn't understand each other, because you, and for me, I'm an acts of service and a words of affirmation person through and through. Ernest is a physical touch person and a quality time person. And so for me, I'm like, well, no, I went and got this and this and this for you. And he's like, no, but I wanted to make this easier for you by not going to 5 different stores. You could have just, came home and that would have been fine. And we had to kind of come back to that common ground. And so I think still understanding that person's love language, again, when it's on the vastly different, or like 2 separate sides of the spectrum, is important in your relationship. And like I said, through the pandemic, but also I think just more recently as we've, had kids too, it's important to understand what those love languages are and how they can be intertwined within your own, but why and how they're different from who you are as well. So
let's jump into that. Since so let's jump into that. So your love language is.
So for me, we were both evenly split, and we did this exercise a few years and years ago, but we were both evenly split. So I'm a words of affirmation and an acts of service. So I want to make sure that you're good at the end of the day, right? Like, so Ernest will say like, oh, like, give me a smoothie while you're out, right? And they say, oh, we don't have strawberry smoothie. I'm going to 4 different stores to try to find him a strawberry smoothie, right? Like, because it's important to me that he get the strawberry smoothie. Why? Because he asked for it, right? But I'm also a words of affirmation for him to tell me like, Tiara, I love you. Or Tiara, like, I appreciated the fact that you went to 80 different stores to find me this strawberry smoothie, because I know that it was important to you that I get this strawberry smoothie. That's me as a person. But that's just, that's who I am. Ernest is on the opposite end of that, where he wants physical touch and quality time, which were important to me too, but they weren't like my mains.
Yeah, I remember both of us had like receiving gifts was the lowest for both of us, because we weren't really materialistic people. But yeah, separately from Tiara, and this is still something that we regularly talk about, is for me it's a lot more about like the I guess the connection through like just a casual connection, right? So for me, like if I'm having a really hard time at work or something like that, whereas Tiara will need words of affirmation, like she wants to sit and talk about it, like it makes her feel better for me to tell her, like, you can do this, like, you're talented, you have all the capabilities, like, you don't need to be worried or stressed. And for me, Tier can sit and do those same things, but I don't think it doesn't mean the same to me. Like, to me, it's much easier just if she comes and gives me a hug. Like, that's really all I need. And then, spending time together, like, getting gifts or things like that, like on holidays, where she's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm really fine, like, with us just, like, going and getting dinner and, like, watching a movie together, like, under, like, a blanket on the couch. Like, so we still communicate about those because, like Tiara mentioned, sometimes we do run into incidents where we're trying to, like, figure out each other, even to this day, where she'll go and she'll be gone for like an hour, and I was like, weren't you just going to like an ice cream store? And she was like, well, yeah, but I couldn't find any place that had a strawberry smoothie. And I was like, I didn't want you to have to waste your whole day getting me a smoothie. Like, just come home and relax. But I think it's important. I think, like, the underlying theme for all of it is, and this includes the love languages too, is just the relationships and marriage. I feel like it's an exercise in empathy every day. And just taking a moment every so often to step back and say, how is the person that I'm spending my life with, or the person I love, feeling about the same things that we're experiencing? Have I stopped to think about how she feels or how he feels about what we've been through, or what's been happening recently? If I've been really stressed out at work, thinking, maybe when I get a chance to reflect, maybe like on the weekend or something, hey, I've been really stressed out, and now that I think about it, like, I haven't really been spending much time with my wife, because I've been, just trying to de-stress it, like, as soon as I can when I get off of work. I should take some time to do something for her, and knowing that she's like an act of service, like, maybe I should go get her something, things like that.
Awesome. So we talked a little bit about the pandemic. What would you say were some of your challenges during the pandemic as a couple? Even with, love languages and spending more time at home and, again, becoming parents again, all over again. Like, what were some of your challenges that you guys faced?
I think, like, I don't know, because when I was pregnant for most of the pandemic, so a lot of challenges, I think, revolved around the pregnancy, especially, like, as it got toward the end, with I needed to really stay home, but as you know, I'm a busybody, so, like, I need to stay home, but I'm going out, like, to get us dinner, or I'm going, to just get, like, a breath of fresh air, and I'm tired. And Ernest is like, you don't need to be doing this. You were 8 months pregnant. Like, you need to be staying home. Or, just stuff like that. But I think in terms of the pandemic, it brought us closer, because we started doing things like rewatching shows that we hadn't watched in years, or, trying to find commonalities that we're stuck in this house together. We need to figure out, what's going on. We also needed to figure out our 2-year-old, right? So I think a lot of the challenges came with more, I guess, familial things than it did, like, in terms of personal stuff between the two of us, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, we really enjoy each other's company. Yeah. Like, we're not one of those couples that gets on each other's nerves a lot. I mean, we do take our own time. Like, it's not like we sit and spend all of our time together when we have free time. I think that was one of the hardest things for Tiara, is that normally when we do, sort of our own time stuff, I'm playing video games with friends, or, I'm on, like, a chat, like, in an online chat room with friends of mine. But they're all things that sort of revolve around her, I'm writing, but they're all things that revolve around just sitting at home, usually on a computer. And Tiara very much, like, for, like, relaxation, wants to, like, go out and do stuff, like go shopping or go visit her friends and family. And not being able to do that, I know, was really hard on her. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges, was, like, finding ways to help you de-stress, especially with the pregnancy, with everything else that was going on in the world. But I mean, we had it pretty easy through the pandemic. Like, we don't have anything to complain about. We both got to work from home almost immediately, and have been for almost a year at this point, working from home. So It's been pretty great. It's been hard on the little one. I think not being at school and around other kids is definitely one of the biggest challenges. Is having to raise your own children 24/7 without any backup. And then, with the birth of the twins now, being outnumbered has been a challenge without for family being able to come over much. So,
Yeah.
So would you say that having an understanding of your love languages actually helped you or helped you get through some of your challenges because you're able to understand what one another's feeling versus, and really understand where
Mommy,
you're coming from.
give to me.
I may not understand this or I may not understand that, but actually understanding what those person's needs are. Would you agree that it helps you get through those challenges?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, some of our challenges come because we're on the opposite ends of the love languages or the spectrum for that. And I can remember one, I guess, like argument in particular where Ernest was sick. And I'm like, let me go get you all of these medicines because I want you to feel better. And he's normally not a person that takes medicine, but this particular time he was like very ill, right? So I'm like, let me get you all these medicines. And he's like, I don't want you to have to go do all of that. Like, I'll be fine. I can drink this tea. My father, get this, my father's going to come over and bring me Ensure, and he's going to bring me Gatorades. You don't have to go do anything. And here I am like, no. I have to get you this medicine.
She's like 6 months pregnant and taking care of the 2-year-old by herself because I was like bedridden. I was like incredibly sick.
Very sick.
And I was like, no, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to get my father who has nothing to do to bring me stuff that I need.
And here I am like, no, I have to get you this medicine because we don't know when your father's going to get here with your Ensures and your Gatorades. I need to go to the store. And he's like, but I don't want to send my pregnant wife to the store. And we're kind of going back and forth and back and forth. And I think at one point we just stopped talking, like still in the same room, right? But we just kind of stopped. And I remember distinctly Ernest being like, you know what, like, I apologize because your love language is acts of service. And I really need to understand that. And then I'm like, I apologize because I understand that you don't want me to go out and have to wobble around 6 months pregnant, finding you this medicine. I get that, but I want to get you this. Medicine, right? But I think that pause of silence and us kind of being able to kind of process through. You're doing this because of this, and I understand that, and I'm meeting you where you are with that. But I'm where I'm at because of this, was really kind of helpful. And like I said, we've been able to kind of meet each other where we're at because we can understand where each other is coming from with the love language, I guess. So that makes sense.
What do you hope your children learn from your marriage?
I think to love on one
Hit
another.
on it a little bit earlier, but
yeah, like I said, Bishop used to say it all the time, and I never really kind of understood it. Like, I was just like, okay. But I think the greatest gift that you can give your children is to show the love and how strong the love is between the two of you. I mean, Dessa, everybody comments on the fact that Dessa's so happy and Dessa's so playful and, how happy she is. But I think it's a reflection of us being very playful with each other, us having fun as a couple. Yes, love. Okay, well, we'll fix it in a moment, okay? Okay. But just how much fun we have together, how light we keep it, but that we actually do genuinely enjoy each other's company. So I think giving them that gift is really important, but to also just build on, I don't know.
I think
Sorry, we're trying to make sure she doesn't.
she's very close to pulling out all the cables on the desk here. Just the positivity in a relationship that, we've seen a lot of our friends and family in really negative and really toxic at times relationships because I think, either whether it's a cultural thing for the person or, it's just the only thing that they're used to, they get this idea that, relationships are, good and bad. And sometimes you'll have really violent arguments and, the person will make you feel horrible about yourself. And then as long as you make up, it's okay. And I think to a certain extent, just in general, Western culture sort of makes that sound okay. And it's really not. There shouldn't be negativity in a relationship. It really should always be, you two against the world. You're supposed to have each other's backs. And so I hope that that's something that they learn from us, is just what positive and healthy relationships look like. We lived with a friend of ours that maid of honor. We lived in a house with her for a few years after we graduated, or after we moved back to Maryland. After we came from Boston. And she was in this relationship where she would sometimes be happy, and we thought the guy was a really nice guy. Honestly, we didn't have any issues with him. But they would periodically get on these phone calls where we could hear her on the other side of the house just screaming at the top of her lungs on the phone. Yeah. And we were like, that's not normal. That's not a healthy relationship. And she was like, no, we're fine. We work it out. And I was like, the fact that you have to do that regularly means that there's something seriously wrong. I think that would be it, just knowing that you should never have to feel afraid in your own relationship. Right. And if you are, then you shouldn't be in it.
And I think too, for the both of us, we grew up not having two parent households. So for us, we want to make sure that they can feel that love from both of us, and they can see a strong, healthy relationship. And we want to make it as healthy as possible. And I think that goes back to the friendship comment, right? Because at the end of the day, we have to have that foundation for the three of them, or they won't, they can't thrive like we would like them to, I guess.
Also, I think humor, that's something that Tiara and I, if I could throw in one more thing, is just learning to take life less seriously. I think that's something that's been a huge coping mechanism for Tiara and I, is not taking ourselves too seriously, being able to laugh at yourself, being able to laugh at your mistakes, and, trying to get each other to laugh at things. When bad things happen, we try and make jokes about it and see the brighter side of it and say, oh, things will be better tomorrow. And I think that's a really important way to not get too jaded with life, is to make sure that you're not taking anything too seriously. Obviously, there are things that are really serious that can happen, but you have to try and laugh your way through life. Otherwise, you're not going to make it through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess our final question for tonight is, what advice would you give a couple that is preparing to get married, or that single person that is looking or pursuing someone that they maybe potentially want to marry in the future?
I think we kind of touched. There we go with the laughing. We kind of touched throughout, but I think making sure you find your friend, right? But that you're knowing what it is that you're looking for in your partner, right? I tell Ernest all the time, I couldn't live life without him, because I feel like Ernest is the missing puzzle piece, right? Without him, I get a homesick feeling, or I feel like I miss him when I'm not around him, or whatever. You have to find that person that's going to make you have those gut butterfly feelings, or that is going to make you feel like you're at home. And Ernest does that for me, right? When I moved to Boston, I was by myself for a couple of months, and I remember once he got there, I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. I can do this. I'm not homesick anymore. I'm good. But I can remember feeling I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this at all. You have to find that person that's going to make you feel at home, because wherever he goes, that's where I feel it. I think being, friends with the person, I think knowing the person, you do have to know a bit about this person, because as a person, again, you're going to see every day, you're going to wake up to. You guys have to share the same kind of core values, right? You can't disagree about, 8 out of 10 of the things on your checklist that say, oh, we're getting married, like, let's do it. Because if you don't have that feeling of security that I've checked off these boxes, me and this person come to a mutual like understanding or agreement on this, it's not going to work. So that's kind of my take on it for somebody who's looking to get married. And I guess because we have friends right now that they've been saying they were going to get married for the past 3 years and still have not. And to me, it's like, that's a red flag, right? Because you should have known, once you set the date, once you propose to that person, sorry, this is what I want to do. And the date should have been set, and this should have been done, and that should have been done. And for them, they're kind of like, we'll get married. And I ask him all the time, because he's supposed to be in the wedding, but I ask him all the time, when are they getting married? And he's like, oh, I don't know. He hasn't said anything to me, or, we haven't gone for our fittings, or we haven't done this. And I'm like, how? But I feel like you have a lot of people out there that get married for convenience, or they get married because this is the person that I've been with for X amount of years. Just because you're with somebody for X amount of years does not mean you guys are compatible to be married. That doesn't constitute that. So I think knowing in your heart of hearts, this is the person that makes me feel like home, that'll do it for you. So, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I was laughing in the beginning when you asked the question, because I was like, I don't know if I can condense my thoughts on this down to like a reasonable amount of thoughts. I think Tiara made really good points. Finding someone who makes you feel like you're home. That person, if you're marrying them, ideally, is someone who's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And, a lot of things will change. You'll, gain a lot, you'll lose a lot. And that will be the one stable thing in your life. It should be. And so making sure that person, is the rock that you need them to be. Like I said, a lot of other things. I think one of the most important things I would tell someone who is, starting to date or is looking to date someone seriously, that I always warn younger people about is to watch how they treat people around them that aren't you. Everyone is going to treat a person that they're interested in a special way, and oftentimes they'll make you feel really special. This is true. I've worked with a lot of people that have, survived abuse and, domestic violence. And they'll make you feel special, but they show their true colors when they see and interact with people that they don't have to impress. And so I always say, when you go on the date, how does the person talk to the waiting staff? Like, how do they talk to people that they view as beneath them? Because it tells you a lot about who their character is. Mm-hmm. Are they nice to people that they don't have to be nice to? I think beyond that, though, like Tara said, finding someone that you feel successfully using the potty over there. Finding someone that you feel safe with, that you feel comfortable with. But I think most importantly, knowing what you want out of life and making sure that that's something that you agree on. Tiara touched on that as well. I have known several friends and family that got into relationships and got married and hadn't discussed just basic concepts that are essential to their future. Like they hadn't discussed that they both wanted kids, right? But they haven't discussed how they want to handle religion. They haven't discussed how they wanted to handle finances. I have a close friend of ours that he and his wife still have separate accounts. Like they don't touch each other's money at all. Like they've been married for 4 or 5 years at this point. And it's still to the point where when they order takeout during the pandemic to go get food, they discuss, well, whose card are we going to use to pay for this? And I mean, if that works for them, and again, there's no right or wrong answer to these, as long as you agree on some common themes behind these major questions. But like that would never work for us. Like I can't imagine being with Tiara and not trusting her enough for her to access my accounts and vice versa. So I think just understanding what you want out of life and making sure that that person is compatible with those essential facts of how you want to go through the rest of your future.
That's good. I mean, definitely, because sometimes we don't think about, when, like you made that good point, how does a person talk to, that waiter or someone that they think that is beneath them. So that is, because it says a lot about their character, their personality. So I think that's definitely very good, very good. I want to ask one more question tonight. Who, or I should say, what couple would you say has been kind of a mentor for you all as you have been in your marriage?
I'm gonna be 100% honest. We don't have one, right? Like we know. So we talk about this all the time. How many like successful marriages like do we know, or do we have like that's in our circle or in our lives? And we don't, right? Like I said, we both came from families where there was one parent in the home. And I was raised by my grandparents, but you know, in terms of like our parents and the foundation that we see, like we don't really have it, and we take from what didn't work in, I guess, like from our parents, and we try to say, okay, well, this didn't work because of this, and I don't want to do. I know for me, I don't want to be like this person, or I don't want to be like that person, or I don't want to have these qualities come into our marriage because I know that that didn't work for them. Like it clearly didn't. So if I had to be honest, I would say we don't have anyone that is like a role model marriage that we are trying to emulate. At every day is a new day, and we keep it light, and we stay true to who it is that we are in terms of like our relationship, and it works, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's important because I think so many times we see people, we see them and we say, oh, they look like they have it all together.
Mhm.
And truth be told, you
They
know,
don't.
that woman is getting her head beaten in, you know, or that man is, you know, being trampled upon. He doesn't have a say so in the marriage.
Yeah.
And so sometimes what we see at the natural eye is not what's really going on behind the scenes. So it is very important to establish your own goals and your own ethics and your traditions for your family. Always, you know, you can always pick up some advice from someone at some point, but you know, sometimes people that give advice, they may not have the best situation
Right.
either. So it is very important to establish that on your own. So
But that's personal qualities of people too, right? Like I take some of the best qualities of the best people in my life that I know, and I try and I take those qualities and try to use them for myself. And I think that makes for our marriage, right? Like, so I don't necessarily think who somebody is in their relationship personally, like how their relationship works, we're emulating. But I think like again, like I said, some of the best people I know, I take the qualities of what makes them the best person in my mind, and I'm like, you know what, I want to be like that. So then like that just becomes a part of who I am, and then I think that feeds off into our relationship, and it makes it work.
well, I think you both are very positive beings. And
Yeah.
so, because of that, I think that, as you just said, you took the high road. You know, you didn't take, okay, I had this situation growing up, so, you know, that's what I'm going to mirror behind. You said, hey, I didn't like some things that I went through. I didn't like certain situations that I was in. And so I'm going to go take the high road. I'm going to make sure that my family, my immediate family, the family that I've now joined and brought together, that we're going to go in a different direction. And so we
Right.
applaud you for that, for being positive, because a lot of times people take, you know, the situations that they've been in and they use it as an excuse not to be a good husband, not to be a good wife, not to be a good mother,
Right.
not to be a good
Right.
father. So the opportunity that you have taken to take the high road, we greatly appreciate you that for that. We're proud of you all for establishing a great family and having a good household. We
Hey,
wish you just the best of luck in everything that you do.
thank
We're
you.
so excited. We know we're going to come back in about 5 years to see
Right.
the twins all grown up. Jessica having her big sister responsibilities. And so we look forward to coming back and chiming in with you to see how you all are doing. So we're going to give this last moment for you both, however order you choose to do so, to just give those words of affirmation to your loved one on today.
Give me a hug, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I love you. It's been great spending this year together. We're really excited now that we have our whole family. We always wanted 3 kids. That was one of the serious topics that we talked about before we got married. We both wanted 3 children, and we joked about having twins would fast forward through an extra year. We would just get a bonus kid. But it was just a joke because we have no twins in our families. But then it actually happened. So I remember when we got home from the hospital saying, you know, our family's complete. Like, you know, now it's just growing. Like, we don't have to do any more of the actual development parts. So that's been great. And the person I'm speaking to is walking around trying to grab our 2-year-old. But looking forward to actually getting started with raising our girls together.
I didn't want to soil the moment with. But no, I think in walking the journey, especially with a life partner and kind of what I saw for myself, I couldn't imagine it being with anybody else but you. And I said that earlier, and people that I knew and qualities of people that we know, you're the best fit for me. And I couldn't imagine that being anybody else. So I do love you. And I'm excited to see how this journey and where this journey leads us.
That's so beautiful. It's good to know, again, that even through growing your family, that you guys take time to love on one another and to spend that quality time with one another and to appreciate one another. So we applaud you. We thank you for giving us this opportunity to highlight your family, as well as your marriage and your union. And our prayers are with you, and we will continue to reach out to you all and check up on you. And we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. And thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can get Dessa in there. We're going to try to.
She can see Dessa. All right, let's turn Dahlia around so they can see Dahlia.
Oh.
That's to say cheese.
Say cheese.
Wait, you gotta look. There you go.
All right, I think we got it. We got it. All right.
So thanks again for having
Yeah,
us.
thanks for having us.